Okay, we're going to go ahead and call our meeting to order. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Mr. Clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
My pleasure. Trustee Arnett.
Here.
Trustee Holder.
Here.
Trustee Kotinik.
Here.
Trustee Kukler.
Here.
Trustee Langen.
Here.
Trustee McCarty.
Here.
President Livingston.
Here, and with that, we have a quorum. Mr. Clerk, if you could lead us in the pledge.
My pleasure. If you would join me, I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, item number 2 this evening, a report. In a moment, I'm going to speak about the armed robbery that we experienced in LaGrange. I have some business to conduct first. One is about LaGrange Gives. The LaGrange Business Association has announced LaGrange Gives, which is a great way to share in LaGrange. When you dine out, you will be giving back to various not-profit organizations that benefit our community. This is beginning February 15th through the 28th. 2016. Each participating restaurant will give back 15% of your food purchase to their nonprofit partner. Nonprofit beneficiaries include the LaGrange Public Library, Hope Chest, Community Nurse, Historical Society, and many others. And for more information regarding restaurant listings and their nonprofit partners, please visit the website at lgba.com or our website at villageoflagrange.com. Also, I'm going to report out on the biennial retreat that the Village Board conducted January 11th at our next meeting. We were going to be doing that tonight, but we have enough on our agenda that I think I will spare you my voice and move on to the business at hand. We will do that at our next Village Board meeting on February the 22nd. All right, with that, let me get to my notes here. A couple of things. I'm going to talk to you right now about the armed robbery that occurred on Friday the 29th, where 2 juveniles were robbed at the intersection of Cossett and Spring Avenue. A similar incident was reported in LaGrange Park the following night. In both instances, nobody was hurt. This is unacceptable to us. LaGrange is not open for business of this kind, and we will be very aggressive continuing to prevent this from happening in the first place. But when it does, we will act quickly as we have, and we'll speak about that. We're very sorry to the kids who had that experience. We're pleased that nobody was injured physically, but we are pretty sure that emotionally has a toll. So we are sorry that they had to experience that and are ever vigilant in preventing, like I say, those things happening in the first place. I also want to thank Renee Strasser, our police chief, and her team and dispatchers who have been involved aggressively since the event took place, working with a variety of law enforcement agencies. We take these matters very seriously, of course. A little perspective, when we do law enforcement, we try to structure our resources in a way that are preventative. Right now, we have experienced a relatively small proportion of our calls for these kind of situations. So we have about 16,000 calls per year that we receive. On a 5-year average, that accounts for about 0.08%, 0.08% of those calls. More specifically, serious crimes such as robbery and aggravated assault are consistently reported in the single digits year after year. We look at those numbers very closely. To us, 1 is too many. We're perfectionists. But when it happens in a region like ours, we try to learn from that with all humility and professionalism and move forward. This is not seen by our statistics or our law enforcement professionals as a crime wave. Over the past 5 years, we've averaged 4 robberies per year. In 2013, we peaked at 8 robberies, but then saw consecutive reductions in 2014 and 15. The only trend is that we do believe that the robbery in LaGrange and the robbery in LaGrange Park are related. With that, I'm going to ask our Chief of Police, Renee Strasser, to report on the status of the investigation. Chief.
Thank you, President Livingston. Immediately after the robbery in LaGrange, the on-duty officers increased their patrol time in the residential neighborhoods. In addition, we've hired back officers to patrol our residential streets in unmarked units. Now, we all know our downtown area is a very popular destination with our school-age children. There will also be visible police patrols in the Central Business District, both in vehicles and on foot, and particularly on the weekends. In terms of the investigation, we've not made any arrests yet. However, our investigators have been actively following up on leads. We are working in collaboration with LaGrange Park investigators to identify the offenders, and we've also reached out to other law enforcement agencies in the region in an effort to develop suspects. We certainly appreciate the cooperation of our business community, which has provided us with access to many, many hours of video surveillance. In addition, there are other investigative activities in progress of which I cannot report on without jeopardizing the ongoing investigation. We ask the residents to continue to be watchful and report any suspicious activity, persons, or vehicles. This past weekend alone, residents reported 3 times as many suspicious persons and vehicles than usual. Officers have also reported more residents waving to them while they're out on patrol in the residential areas, thus reinforcing that a collaborative effort is underway between us and the community in our attempt to apprehend these offenders for the offenses. And finally, parents, please talk to your children about remaining alert while walking in the neighborhood. And if something were to occur, instruct your child to go to the nearest home and ask that resident to dial 911. We thank you for your understanding as we continue to work through the leads in this case, and we will certainly keep you informed on any future developments.
Thank you, Chief. Point well said on the partnership. We really do have a good partnership with our businesses who have provided very important and helpful information to us, whether it's their video surveillance, and our residents who are in strong partnership in making our streets safe and safer. So with that, don't hesitate if you've got questions to email me directly, tlivingston@villageoflagrange.com, or anyone on our team, any of the trustees here, or just give a call. So we're happy to do that and take any questions. So with that, I have no matters on my report further. Mr. Clerk, if you could read the items on the omnibus agenda.
Certainly. Matters on the omnibus agenda will be considered by a single motion and vote because they have already been fully considered by the board at a previous meeting or have been determined to be of a routine nature. Any member of the Board of Trustees may request that an item be moved from the omnibus agenda to current business for separate consideration. Item A, purchase fire department self-contained breathing apparatus. Item B, material purchase, spring flower planting program. Item C, ordinance, disposal of surplus property, miscellaneous personal property, police department. Item D, ordinance, disposal of surplus property, public works department. Item E, minutes of the Village of LaGrange Board of Trustees regular meeting Monday, January 25th, 2016. Item F, consolidated voucher 160208.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. And under current business.
Under current business, this item includes consideration of matters being presented to the Board of Trustees for action. Item A, ordinance variation, maximum building coverage Anthony and Laura Pagato, 605 South Brainerd Avenue.
Thank you. And with that, item number 4 on our agenda is the consideration of our omnibus agenda and vote. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. I skipped from 2 to 3. That's not allowed. Item number 3 are public comments regarding items that are on our agenda this evening. Yes, please. Okay, why don't we do that? Why don't we handle item number 5 as part of the current business? Thank you. Other questions? Now then, item number 4.
I move for approval of the omnibus agenda as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Chief Gay, I'm going to put you on the spot. Tell us about the breathing apparatus and the grant.
All right. 2014, 2015, we had IRF funds set aside for the SCBA purchase. The fire department decided to go for the grant one more time, so we put together a committee. Lieutenant Jeff Beelan is here in the audience. The committee also consisted of Lieutenant Tom Bensfield, Chuck Cordelli, and Eric Yeager, and we put a plan together to try to get, first of all, put in for the grant, but also to make sure that our current SCBA would not start to reach the end of its life. So we put the grant together, and we were lucky enough to receive the grant, and the committee got together and put together a plan to weed out the competitors, and we came up with the SCBA from Air 1, the MSA G1 is what it's called, and we're all set to go. We should have it by the end of the month. Our plan is in place, and we are starting to lose some of our air bottles as we speak. This month they go bad. They've been marked, taken out of service, so we made it, and it's a good thing.
Well,
And it was with the help of that committee, obviously.
it certainly is, and thank you for your persistence in going after that grant. That really helps our budget. And Jeff, thank you and your committee as well. Other questions or comments on the omnibus agenda?
Quick comment on that. I happen to know MSA and their competitors, and I congratulate you guys on choosing them. It's absolutely top of the line right now and displacing a lot of others, and what you're buying is the latest and greatest, so it'll of course have the best life for the village also. So congratulations not only for what's the best, in my opinion, technological choice, and I'm not the expert like you guys are, but also at a price that actually was less than what was budgeted for it, and give us a couple of shekels to put into something else. So hats off to you guys. Great job.
Thank you.
Thanks. Other questions on the omnibus agenda? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, roll call vote.
Trustee McCarty.
Aye.
Trustee Kukler.
Aye.
Trustee Kotinek.
Aye.
Trustee Arnett.
Aye.
Trustee Holder.
Aye.
Trustee Langen.
Aye.
With that, the agenda passes. Item number 5, current business. Item A, ordinance, variation, maximum building coverage, Anthony and Laura Pagato, 605 South Brainerd Avenue. Referred to Trustee Langen.
Thank you, President Livingston. As you said, Anthony and Laura Pagato, the owners of property at 605 south of Brainerd, have applied for a variation for maximum building coverage requirement to construct an addition. The subject property is located on an interior lot of the R4 single-family residential district. This property is 50 feet wide by 134.84 feet deep, which is typical for the R4 family district. This matter was considered by the board at our January 25th meeting. There were several questions raised by village board members, so that we, at the conclusion of the meeting, we decided to continue it to this meeting so that those questions could be answered. In response to those questions raised by the village board at the meeting, staff notes that the subject property was constructed with a building permit in 1963. We have no record of any prior variation on the property. At the time of construction, the zoning ordinance then, in effect, set a minimum livable floor area for each single-family zoning district. For this particular address, a minimum was 1,500 square feet. The ordinance also set minimum required yards. However, the ordinance did not set any maximum building coverage or lot coverage. Therefore, we believe that the subject property would have been in compliance with the current zoning codes in 1963. The maximum allowable building coverage for an R4 district is 30%. The current building coverage on the property exceeds the limit. The applicants seek a variation of 19.6% from the maximum of the maximum allowable building coverage by more than 20%. On December 1st, 2015, the ZBA, the Zoning Board of Appeals, held a public hearing on this matter. At the hearing, the applicants presented their application to construct a two-story addition, which included an eating area expansion. The application for this increase is of 153 square feet on the main floor. The applicants have submitted letters of support from their neighbors, and the variance was approved on a vote of 5-2. I'd like to handle this in a similar manner to the last time. Open it up for discussion, discuss some key points. It sounds as if the applicant's representative has some points to make, and then make a motion at the conclusion of that. So, Mr. King, I think it would be the appropriate time for you to tell us what we need to know.
Thank you. Again, my name is Randy King. I'm with the Architects by Design. I wanted to just address the questions that were raised. I'm not going to go through the whole presentation that we did with the Zoning Board of Appeals. The first issue that was brought up was the issue of flooding and water. Again, I just wanted to point out that there is no increase in lot coverage. I just brought a little mock-up. Normally, you see drawings at quarter-inch scale. This is 4 times the size of that. The white, that's the size of the patio. This is our addition on it. So there's no net increase of water flow for the property. Currently, the patio is 254 square feet. Our addition is 153. With the remaining area that's here that's currently a patio, the Bagatos have agreed to use permeable pavers where that is located, so we'll actually be reducing our lot coverage. In addition, I've got a picture that has a red line on it that kind of shows the red line on the back patio shows where the addition is going. In addition to the patio in the back, we're also willing to take the side patio, which you can see in that picture, and make that impermeable pavers as well. Another question that came up was the building size and what the size of the first floor was. The first floor gross square footage is 1,424 square feet. The net usable space on the first floor is 867 square feet. Just as a reminder, that's 200 square feet larger than a 3-car garage. The addition is only 153 square feet. And basically what we did, and you can see it on that diagram, we took a 3x6 table, put chairs around it, and just allowed for somebody to walk around. So we're not trying to make a big room out of this. We're trying to stay as minimal as we can. The other issue that was brought up was hardship, and it was about bi-levels. So I drove around the country club area between 55th Street and 47th Street, Brainerd, and LaGrange Road. And believe it or not, there's 110 bi-levels.
I believe it.
60 of those have detached garages. 16 of them are on very larger lots or corner lots where it's not really an issue. There's 7 of them that have 2-car garages, but they're subgrade. In other words, the driveway is actually below grade. So the rooms on top of that are not actually sticking way up on the second floor. 22 of them have 1-car garages, which are either subgrade or something you can knock off and actually put a detached garage in the back if you wanted to. There are only 5 like this house, where there's a 2-car attached garage in the front. So of 110, there's actually, their unit model, there's only 5. So we talked a little bit was talked about already about the zoning code. And as an example, I brought a couple. This was the building code, I'm going to say 15 years ago. This is today. This is actually the Grange
A
Park.
microphone, because this is recorded. Thank you.
This is actually the Grange Park zoning code from 1995. This would be that today. So as you can see, there are a lot more rules today. And the houses that were built back in the day before all these codes were written just don't fit, and that's where the zoning variance comes in. So I think it was incorrectly stated, we can't go over 20%. We're at 19%. And we're willing to try to help with the water issue by decreasing the size of our footprint. And so, again, older homes trapped by the new rules. Historic homes in this town actually get favors. If you have a porch, you get a credit. If you have a detached garage, you get a credit. There's no credit for a house like this. And not that I want to take away from those houses, but it's a little bit unfair. Again, as was stated before, the house was built in 1963. We had a title, went back and looked at the title report, and in fact, there isn't anything on it except for the fact that the house was built 7 inches too close to or over the 35-foot line. Lastly, worthwhile investment. Because of where this house is located, the style of the house it is, how it's set up, to put an investment in this house, it's got to be worthwhile. If the first floor can't support what needs to be done with the rest of the house, it just doesn't make any sense. So there are only 3 habitable rooms on this first floor. They're just asking to have a real kitchen. Last but not least, the other hardship that can come up in this, they're the only one of these houses that has to stare across the street at an employee parking lot that's also construction, I don't know how to call it, kind of a dumping zone for the construction projects. So they're on a block. That's not a normal block. The houses are on one side, nothing's on the other side except for an employee parking lot for the country club. So what they're trying to do, I think, makes sense. Doesn't affect anybody. The neighbors behind and next door to them said it's okay, doesn't bother them. So we're hoping that the board will see that this is a worthwhile project.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. King. I guess let me go into a couple things. There are 7 criteria that we use when we're looking at zoning variances. It's not a unique physical condition. It's a normal lot in the R4 district. Not self-created. They bought the house 10 years ago, so that doesn't apply. Denied substantial rights and not merely special privileges. I don't think any of those apply here. The code and the plan purposes, we talked a little bit about that. The zoning committee talked a lot about bulk being an issue there, but this was not one of the things they were addressing. Essential character of the area, as you said, there's other homes that match or are similar to that, so it really doesn't have an effect on that either way. And no other remedy. I guess from my standpoint, the key pieces are this. I don't think it meets the 7 criteria. That's not something, I just don't think it meets it. Secondarily, where you talked about there's 110 split levels and only 5 like this, yes, but there's Georgians and there's Cape Cods. I live in a Cape Cod. I've got a miserable small kitchen and we have a dining room next to it, and I'd like to change it, but there also is a lot of those homes. So then we would be looking at this all over the village. And it does have an effect in terms of ground coverage and what we're going to do. So there is something we've got to think about on a larger scale. Flooding issues are an issue and something we got to be cognizant of. The patio and the house and the footprint, all those are things we're considering here. From my standpoint, I don't think it meets the criteria, and I wouldn't support a variance. But we want other trustees to chime in. That's why we continued it to this meeting.
Other discussion? Trustee Kukler.
I guess I would take the contrary to that. As far as the 7 criteria and whether they apply, I think it matters if we look at it as how the board has decided in the past. And the board has in the past, I believe every single time one of these variances has come before the board, said, similar projects do meet the criteria. In other words, they have said that the not self-created, purchasing a home doesn't disqualify you from not self-created. If we hung up on that, there would never be one variance passed, and we've passed plenty of variances. So the unique physical condition, again, if we're going with cases in the past, I think the country club being across the street would justify this as being unique. Denied substantial rights, I think they have made the case for, it's a big deal if this doesn't get approved. It does impact their quality of life. But one thing that I want to emphasize is the zoning board, and I was at the zoning board meeting, the zoning board carefully considered this case. And I think we as a board need to be very cautious when we don't follow the zoning board, and have specific reasons for that, and to be able to say, this isn't going to be, we don't agree with you, zoning board, for this reason. And we should do that very judiciously and on a limited basis. And for me, because of the fact that we have granted these variances in the past, I just don't think that we can do it, we should do it, I should say, that we should now change course without, really having strong reasons. And lastly, for me, this flooding issue, that they've come in and said, last time I thought it was kind of a wash, no pun intended, that they were going to, take out the patio and put in this addition. But Mr. King has explained that they are going to take out the patio and put in less of an addition, or an addition on less of the square foot, and put in permeable pavers to allow water to get into the ground. That is a definite benefit for the neighbors. It's a definite benefit for the community, especially as we have water going across Brainerd Avenue. So I'm in favor of it and would urge people to support it.
Other discussion? Trustee McCarty.
I think both Marks bring up some great points. This is one of the most difficult kinds of things we do. For me, especially relative to going against the Zoning Board of Appeals, I also find that very difficult, very troublesome. We entrust a lot of confidence in these people and expect their work, and we should respect their work. Except I think on the board, there is one difference here. On this board, we have a greater fiduciary duty to the village. And with the village spending $14 million in flood mitigation, that comes out to about $100,000 per resident. And I think it's very hard for me to ask my neighbors to pay $100,000 per person in their house so that someone else can have an eat-in kitchen. To me, that's the strong reason to go against and to set the message back that the previous era is gone. No one gets larger than the allowed building area, and especially if they don't meet the criteria. And I 100% agree with Trustee Langen that it is completely self-created. There is no substantial rights denied, and it is merely a special privilege. So I have a hard time supporting it.
Trustee Kula.
I guess, Trustee McCarty, could you explain the $14 million and the $100,000, how you believe this increases flooding when we heard that actually it will decrease the concrete that's over ground and therefore allow more water to go into the ground, I assume? I mean, how does that, it seems contrary, but am I missing something?
No, I think it has to do with roof area and where that runoff comes. It gets concentrated before it comes off of the roof into the downspouts, and will have a tendency to run overland much more than if it just falls randomly on the patios.
Is there a solution to that? I mean, changing downspouts, putting in any other area, I mean, because I do, to me, the flooding is a big issue. And, you know, if this is going to cause more flooding, that's a problem. If it's going to be less flooding, that's a good thing. And I just, you're the architect. If there's a way to reduce the flooding, I think that'd be good.
Offhand, I don't know, and I think that part of that is built into our current code issue, that yes, there should be some give back or quid pro quo, that if they were to, say, reduce the driveway to permeable pavers, that then you could get a 5% or 10% or 20% increase. I think those pieces need to be in place before we start granting more variances.
Other discussion? Trustee Holder.
As a former ZBA member, I also respect the work of the ZBA, especially the comments made by some of the commissioners that are on the zoning board that served with me and that have great tenure and great, therefore, institutional knowledge, as well as knowledge of the code. So we don't take this lightly when we consider going against what that august body has recommended, even if it's a split code. Ticking down, I can see some of the points. I don't see a unique physical condition. I don't think that's really relevant here. The fact that there are other houses like this, you know, if it was the only Georgian in the village or something like that, or, you know, was on a, we dealt with one on the ZBA where it was a 35-foot wide lot, if you can imagine building something on that, and then a 28-foot lot. Those are great. Those are kind of unique. Not self-created. Clearly, you did not create the situation that you have now where you are over-covered on the lot. That's very clear. You just bought the place 10 years ago. Like I did, I bought it and didn't know what I was going to do when I bought it, and 10 years later I finally made those decisions, and of course I had to deal with what I had. Nobody knows what they're going to do the day they buy the house, so it's not like I'm going to look at somebody and say, well, you should have never bought, you know, that's silly. Substantial rights, a reasonably sized kitchen, I don't see that as a substantial right. I don't see a special privilege here at all in the creation of a usable kitchen. I do not. One of the things, the essential character of the area, while I appreciate that the neighbors, and I appreciate a great deal that the neighbors stood up and that you asked the neighbors and got their input, but it does matter to me. But the fact that it would not affect the neighborhood is not the standard. When we talk about a variance for anything here, we're creating a standard for the entire village. And anybody that wants to do that, whether they're in the far corner of either a part of the village or in a Georgian or anything else, has the right to look at that variance and say, well, then I can do that too. So when we look at these variances, we have to look at the probability, not possibility, the probability that others are going to want to do the same thing. We spent a long time, the zoning board, the community affairs group, spent a long time revising the zoning code, and especially lot coverage and bulk and house coverage and that sort of thing. And we've spent so much time on that. I am just absolutely, with regard to no other remedy, I just don't see a reason to violate the code further than we are already. And I do think that that is another sticking point to me. So in my opinion, it does not solve, it does not address, and does not pass the 7 requirements that we have both in the code and in our statute.
I'd like to.
Trustee Arnett.
Can I ask a quick question? Okay. So I'm, first of all, it's a very handsome proposal. I think the house, it's a very good-looking house. Can you go over one more time how much additional square footage we're talking about adding outside on that ground floor there outside?
153 square feet,
That you're adding?
yes.
100 and...
Adding a building footprint, not of lot coverage.
No,
Yeah.
how many square foot again? You said 100?
153.
So what is that, like a 10 by 15 or
I
something?
think it's 11.4 by 13.4.
11.4 by, so
13.4.
11 by 13
Mhm.
feet.
Mhm.
Okay, so, and right now, there's a solid concrete patio sitting there.
Correct.
So in no way, well, we're talking about the roof runoff is actually of a particular concern. So in the building of this, is there an opportunity to do any kind of like a French drain or do any kind of a holding, or any kind of retention area in the back of the property? You still
Yes,
have
yes, there is.
50 feet, don't you, back there?
There is, yes.
How many feet a yard are you going to have in the backyard? Like, what is that lot? You get like another 50 feet back there, right? Or something like that?
Yeah, there's 33 feet behind the entire building, and behind the patio, there would probably be about 60 feet. That would be at least 20 feet wide, about 20 feet wide, by 60 in addition to that, directly behind the yard.
I'm just trying to get my head around how big a 13 by 10 foot thing is, and I'm thinking that's like a, what is that? Maybe a small kid's bedroom or something?
Yes,
And I'm sorry, I can't compare, I haven't done any remodel jobs on my home either, but I don't think we're talking about my home, I think we're talking about somebody else's, right? And I'm not really sure what the kitchen looks like before or after, I don't think I care.
It's a long, narrow kitchen, and what we're trying to do is make it a usable kitchen and
Well-
add a eating area, that's all.
And I guess what my question is this place is, you said it was from 1960 something?
1963.
I'm happy to say it's older than I am. But nonetheless, it's not a young home, it's an old home. I mean, at this point, it's over 50 years old, right?
As an
And it
example,
probably needs some updating and some remodeling in order to stay current and stay valuable and make sure that our housing stock stays desirable, right? I mean, we do want to be able to sell these things and get some taxes out of them eventually, right? I mean, I'm just saying, if we've got to do some rehab, we've got to do some remodeling, that is kind of a natural offshoot, eventually, to most homes. Particularly, and I think we all know, someone mentioned our historic properties, which certainly have kitchens in excess of 10 by 13 feet.
Okay.
Nonetheless, I just wanted to make sure that I was understanding. So basically, the footprint is actually going to be smaller. You do have the opportunity to have some different paving so that we can get the runoff absorbed.
Right.
Is there going to be an opportunity to do some additional, I guess, water saving?
There is absolutely, there's an opportunity to do something.
And do you think that the homeowners would be open to that?
Yes.
Thank you, Trustee Arnett. Trustee Katina.
Thank you, Mr. President. I guess, my vote will come out, but with respect to the trustees that would oppose this proposal, I obviously respect your opinion, and I take the fiduciary responsibility very serious. I think that's why we're all up here. At the same time, I realize my limitations in terms of building permits, building sizes, and things we can and can't do. There seems to be some disagreement in terms of water runoff. I believe Mr. King and his assessment on the cure for that. I think where my biggest concern is we spend a lot of time putting experts on our councils, and we can't be everywhere, every place, and experts of everything. And we seed these councils with people that we trust to carry on our fiduciary responsibilities. If we sit here and overrule them consecutively and continuously, it would make me question why do we have those in place. So, I will vote in favor of the ordinance with respect to the zoning board and the work that they do, and put my trust in their decisions.
Thank you. Thank you, Trustee Katinek. Other questions? Comments?
Well, last piece I've got is, we appreciate folks investing in their homes. That's not the point here. We certainly, want everyone to have, enjoy the Grange and enjoy the lifestyle here. I think Trustees Kukler and Katinek make good points in that, You know, we have approved other variances, and the zoning board has passed some things on to us, but I think, you know, we need to hold the line and we need to enforce code, and if things don't meet the criteria, I think we've got to do that, because we've dug ourselves a hole in some other areas because we haven't. So, time for a motion. So I'm gonna just, I'm gonna have a motion to deny the variation request.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved to deny and seconded the request. Further discussion on the motion, and then I'll explain what an aye vote is and what an A vote is on this.
Well, Can we just get a clarification if we're going to do that? And again, normally what we do is the person presenting does present the motion and say that they're going to vote against it.
Right.
But if he's not going to do that, if trustee Langen's motion were to not pass, then we're going to have a new motion
Motion
to come forward.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
So if that's what you want, that's fine.
We still get to the same place, one way or another.
Seems like
We had to start somewhere.
seems a little redundant.
Trust, or counselor, any preference? It's just the will of the board on that?
Unless you rule the motion out of order, it's the pending motion.
So you've made the motion to deny,
Correct.
and if that is defeated, then we do the other one, okay?
Should we go
All
back to
right.
the-
Then it's been moved and seconded. Further discussion on the vote to deny, and a vote aye is obviously to deny. So if you're for the project, you would vote nay on this particular thing. So, all right, Mr. Clerk, roll call vote.
Trustee Arnett,
Nay.
Trustee Holder,
Aye.
Trustee Kotinek,
Nay.
Trustee Kukler,
Nay.
Trustee Langen,
Aye.
Trustee McCarty.
Aye.
I believe that's call of the chair then. I will vote
President Livingston.
nay, and seek a motion to approve the ordinance.
I would make a motion to approve the ordinance.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion on the motion. Seeing none, all those in favor, please.
No, yeah, ordinance.
Oh, that's right. I was going to ask for the clerk, so thank you. Roll call vote, Mr. Clerk.
Trustee Arnett,
Aye.
Trustee Holder,
Nay.
Trustee Kotinek,
Aye.
Trustee Kukler,
Aye.
Trustee Langen,
Nay.
Trustee McCarty,
Nay.
President Livingston.
Explaining my vote here, we have the same set of facts and different people looking at those same set of facts. And I respect each and everybody's opinion, and they were well regarded. From a personal standpoint, I look at the lot coverage, the permeable surface. It doesn't make any sense for us to, on the one hand, invest in bigger pipes and stormwater management and contribute to the aggravation of that. In this particular case, I don't see that. I see this falling within the code, and again, respectfully disagree with those who didn't approve it, so I will vote aye. With that, we have no other matters before current business. Item number 6, manager's report.
There is no report for this evening, Mr. President.
Very good. Item number 7 this evening, public comments regarding matters not on our agenda this evening. Seeing none, I will seek a motion to go into executive session. Item A, closed session, matters related to the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees. And when we come back, we'll have no other business, so we will be adjourned for the evening.
I move to enter into executive session for matters related to the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions on the motion? Roll call vote, Mr. Clerk.
Trustee Holder,
Aye.
Trustee Kotinek,
Aye.
Trustee Kukler,
Aye.
Trustee McCarty,
Aye.
Trustee Arnett,
Aye.
Trustee Langen.
Aye.
With that, the motion passes. Item number 9, trustee comments this evening. Trustee Kukler.
Just real quickly, I just want to point out that last vote was split 3-3 with the president making the decisive vote. But what I liked about it, what I enjoy serving as a trustee, is how professional the debate was, and I thought it was great. I think we can look at things and decide differently, but do so in a civil and professional manner, and so I think it was a great example of that.
Agreed, Trustee Kukler, and I think it's one of the reasons LaGrange is successful is we do sweat the details and have all sides of the debate that we really need to look at. So truly respect everybody's perspective here. Other trustee comments? Seeing none, I would seek a motion. Let's see, we're done. We are adjourned to executive session, and thank you. Our next public meeting is February 22nd, 7:30. Thank you.